Hello everybody, my name is Average Election Enjoyer. Today is November 6th of 2025, so just 2 days after these most recent special elections on November 4th. Um, if you saw, I released a sort of initial reaction video, and this is going to be the first video of a series that I'm going to be sort of starting, where I'm going to be breaking down all of the big four races, and also I might have a fifth video that goes over all the other races that you might have seen with like ballot initiatives in Maine and Texas. You saw some smaller races in Georgia and also in Pennsylvania. So that might be a fifth video. But today, I want to go over the Virginia governor's race. So the first of the big four races that I've been talking about. As you can see here, Abigail Spanberger, 57% of the vote to Winsome Earl Sears, 42.6% of the vote. So nearly 15-point margin here by Abigail Spanberger over Winsome Earl Sears. She did, you know, this is a great result for Democrats. Winsome Earl Sears, however, did sort of have a lot of struggles in her campaign. She wouldn't even get endorsed by Donald Trump. Probably most likely he was fearing a sort of result like this would negatively reflect on his name, and it turns out that he was right in that regard. Not a lot of people thought that this race was going to end up like this. However, I myself barely had it in double digits. A lot of people were thinking even just 10, 11 points would be a huge win for Abigail Spanberger. So, when the results sort of blew up like they did for the Democrats, not many people expected this implosion of the Republican Party. You can see with 96% of the expected votes in, remaining 125,000 is estimated, the Democrats have gained a total of 3.3 million, or it's not Democrats, sorry. There's been a total vote population of 3.3 million. If you add in the estimated, it should come out to close to 3.5 million. So it would be close to 3.5 million. It would end up exactly being at 3.4 million, and so 3,387,554 is what the total estimated amount would be. However, we still have to wait on the remainder of the results to find that out. And you can see a big sort of trend that we can see in this election is how well Abigail Spanberger did across pretty much every district. Pretty much every district trended left in this election. You see Loudoun County, which was a big telltale for Republicans in 2024 that they were going to do well nationally, got blown up in Loudoun County here. We could see nearly a 30-point margin here in Loudoun County, about 29 points here. If you go to even in 2020, we could go to 2024 here, Loudoun County, see only 16 points. Democrats nearly doubling what they got in Loudoun County from 2024 to 2025, and you can see the vote drop off for Republicans compared to Democrats is just not good for them at all. 82,000 people from Loudoun County voted for Trump. Only 58,000 would end up voting for Earl Sears versus Democrats 105,000 voting for Abigail Spanberger. Sorry about that. Versus 100 this is Biden versus 124 voting for Harris. So you could see Democrat drop off in these counties was just not as much as Republicans. Republican drop off was just really bad in this election, and it was in the other elections I'll go over in later videos. Other key takeaways here: Prince William County, also 66 to 33, so 33-point margin. If you go to Kamala Harris here, again, look at that. It's only barely 18 points. So Democrats were almost doubling the margins here in some of these big Democratic counties. And another key factor is Democrats winning counties that they lost in 2024, and that were they even lost in in 2020, even though Joe Biden would win by 10 points. You see Spotsylvania County in 2020, Trump winning 52-45. If we go to 2024, Spotsylvania, Trump winning 53-45. So a loss in support, or sorry, slight gain in support here. But if we go to here in 2025, Democrats winning by 3 points. So we could see these huge trends in Democrats gaining in some of these. They're not exactly rural counties. These are somewhat populated counties, but gaining in more suburbs, more suburban counties here. We could see Democrats winning in what does it see here? In some of these counties in let's see, in lower Virginia here, that see another county here, Prince Edward County. Democrats eking out a victory in this significantly less populated, more rural county. If we go here, 2024, Trump barely winning only by 2 points, but that's still a flip for the Democrats. And Biden here actually doing fairly well in Prince Edward County here, 52-46. So actually overperforming, Biden overperforming Democrat here. But I mean, if Democrats are overperforming Biden in a lot of these counties, like they did here, which is the biggest county, not biggest county in terms of population, but biggest county in terms of how the election is sort of going, the biggest sort of, sorry, I forgot the word for what it's called here, but just the biggest sort of prediction, I guess you could say, in how the rest of the night is going to go. You can see that Biden got overperformed here, and Biden won by 10 points, which is a good victory for Democrats in the state of Virginia, which Virginia, a lot of people forget, Virginia was a Republican voting state for a long time. It was a closely contested state, even back in just in Obama years. It was closer than a lot of swing states that you might see today. So people forget how close Virginia used to be. Now, of course, a lot of federal workers moving into Virginia, a lot of educated, more affluent people moving into Virginia really has shifted it blue, sort of like how Florida, a lot of retirees moving and shifted it red. But you can see that in past elections that are a lot closer, only 6 points, Democrats really expanded that lead here. If you look at some of the precincts, you can even see that Spamberger received more votes in individual precincts than Harris did in those precincts, which is just insane because this is a 2025. This isn't even a midterm year. This is a off year for an election. So if Spamberger is receiving more votes than Harris did in 2024, that's showing some pretty big shifts in not just Republicans not showing up, but even some level of persuasion here in some of these counties. And now, if we can look at some of these past results here, we could see in 2021 when Glenn Youngkin, again, this is a flip. A common narrative you see is blue states votes for blue candidates, so we should just ignore these results. That's the sort of mentality that's going to be losing Republicans. That if they carry in the 2026, that's going to hurt them significantly. Just if they're ignoring these results and keep on doing what they think is work, because it's not working, obviously. You can't just ignore results like these. This was a wave. This was a blue wave. I was saying that I was not convinced that there was going to be a blue wave upcoming, and that I wasn't convinced that Democrats had the support that some people were saying they had. But this is a huge result. This is a blue wave. This is not a tsunami because it's not a midterm, but this is a wave for the Democratic Party. They won every major election, and they overperformed in pretty much every major election tonight. Yeah, if you are a Republican and you are just going to try to dismiss these results, that is going to be the mentality that gets you killed in 2026. As we were saying, so this was a Republican governorship that got flipped. As you can see, 3.289 million votes total. And as I said here, it's going to get to nearly 3.5 million votes. So you should see over 200,000 more people turning out for this most recent election. So higher turnout. in this. If we look into these presidential years, you see it's getting over 4 million votes, about 4.3 million. But this is a high turnout special election here for Virginia, and you'll see in the next elections that I'll be covering, you can see that trend sort of remains. Another trend that you could see that was very prevalent is Hispanics, especially in these upper Virginia counties, Loudoun, Fairfax, all these more Democratic counties here. That especially in Loudoun, you saw Hispanics actually driving Republicans up in Loudoun. That's what made it a lot closer. However, in 2025 here, Hispanics voted 66% for Spanberger to only 33% for Earl Sears. So you saw a massive reversion in the amount of people who are voting for. You saw a massive reversion in Hispanics voting for the Democratic Party rather than the Republican Party, and it's so that's sort of puts a damper on the trends that were really exciting Republicans from 2024 in terms of Hispanics voting for the Republican Party. As you can see here, Glenn Youngkins barely won his race 2 points, 15 points for no, less than 15 points, but almost 15 points for Abigail Spanberger. So you can see massive shift. And another thing you can notice is Republicans getting 1.6 million votes here in 2021, 1.4 million in 2025. But the biggest difference you could see in votes for the Democrat, 1.6 million for Terry Aloof, who was the Democratic nominee, almost so 1.9 million for Republicans. So 300,000 more people turned out for the Democrats in 2025, while the Republicans lost 2 million votes here. So you could see just a lot more motivation behind the Democratic Party that might be helping carry them in these special elections, and we just have yet to see. We'll see in 2026 if that continues, that sort of motivation in the Democratic Party. And then the final, so I just want to go over some last couple of these results. If you look down here at these early voting polls, you could. So as I was saying, I talked about Voting Trend, who's a YouTube channel who does something called the Nowcast model. Sorry, that if you you should check out his channel. His make great content regarding that Nowcast model. It sort of helps shape how it lets you see what each party needs to get in terms of on-day voting, and the Nowcast model had it that Democrats or Republicans would need a huge election day turnout, or not just turnout but also votes, and you could see that Democrats won the election day votes by like 8%, 8 points. So that is a disastrous result for the Republicans, who needed to win, and you'll see that in New Jersey too. Republicans needed to win the election day votes by a substantial amount, and yet they lost, which is something that was not a lot of people saw coming. A lot of people thought, including myself, that early person votes would be substantially for Democrats and Republicans would be playing catch up, but they didn't just play catch up. They lost the category that they needed to do well in, and then you can see Democrats dominated the other two forums, 14 points here, and then just what is that? It's like 54 points here for early mail, so not even close. If you look at some of these exit polls, as I was talking about, Hispanics 67-33, so better than what I said earlier. African Americans 93-7. Even the white voters is shocking, because 47-53 is very close for what you typically see for white voters. Males 48-51, females 65-35. So those are just about as expected. There, you can see Democrats pretty much won every category except for white voters, but they did very well with white voters, which is, something that has been a trend. Harris did do fairly well with white voters and did very poorly with minorities in 2024, but if Democrats can continue to do well with whiter voters and also keep these margins here, they're gonna probably do fairly well in future races here. However, that's just that's something that we'll just have to see for the future. That's not something I can say right now is going to happen and is currently happening. And then, so finally, I just like to go over House of Delegates and also some of the other races that we saw here in Virginia. Here we got Virginia lieutenant governor here, won by 400,000 votes, 55-44. So nearly 11-point margin here. Did similarly. Still lost Spotsylvania, even though it was a close margin. Didn't do as well in Prince Edward. Lost Prince Edward as well, but still did really well in Loudoun County. Almost 62 points here. So it was almost 62-38. Sorry about that. 62-38 here. That would be a 24-point margin. So that's still a huge overperformance by Democrats here, even in this lieutenant governor's race. Again, exit polls swinging about the same. Not doing as well with males, and not doing as well in pretty much all these categories, but still, 11-point performance, better than Biden did in 2020. And Biden in 2020 was definitely a bluer year. And then finally, the biggest shock here, Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones pulling away by nearly 6 points is not something that myself included and a lot of people expected. Getting almost 20-point margin here in Loudoun County, so that just shows how Loudoun County is seen. The term I was looking for earlier was bellwether, and Loudoun County serving as this bellwether. 20-point margin in Loudoun County for a candidate marred by scandals. Against an incumbent Republican Attorney General here. A huge performance for the Democrats here. Even though you can talk about the nature of the scandal and if Jay Jones in fact deserves to be in this race and if he should have dropped out or Democrats should have taken other measures, that's not something that I'm here to debate about today. I'm just here to say if Democrats with a scandal-ridden candidate that people thought might lose this election, pulled away by 6 points, performed even better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. What does that say about what is happening with the Republican Party here in specifically Virginia, but also, and you'll see in New Jersey a similar sort of catastrophe happen. Pretty much 2 nights ago was a catastrophe for the Republican Party across every single election that you could feasibly see on and look up information on. It was just a disaster. But this is the biggest disaster because if you, as a Republican, can't beat a scandal-ridden Attorney General, Jason Mayeris outperformed Winsome Earl Sears by nearly 10 points and still lost by a bigger margin than Kamala Harris did. This is a disaster. You gotta take Republicans here need to take an introspection and just see how they could lose a race like this so decisively against a scandal-ridden candidate such as Jay Jones. So this is the biggest, most impactful race for me because it's in a lot of people because this just shows how Republicans need to look at how they are presented among the voter base. If people are more than happy to vote for this man who has said some terrible things over just a standard Republican, what does that say about the party messaging that you guys were putting out? You were putting out in this election here. So this is most definitely the most decisive race of the three and needs to be talked about. Democrats need to take a look and see how he sort of rescued this race, and Republicans need to take a look in the mirror and just have some serious conversations about how they could let a disaster like this unfold in this election. And finally, after those races, I just want to talk about the House of Delegates races here. As you can see, this is sort of the state elections that we were talking about earlier. You can see some of these margins, and this site, which is, so this is the actual state, unofficial state results from Virginia.gov, as you can see. So we could see the most up to date, accurate numbers. Abigail Spanberger here, 57 to 42, with 0.2% going in via write-in, up by nearly 500,000 votes here. So as we move to lieutenant governor, 400,000, nearly 400,000 vote difference here, almost 11-point difference here in lieutenant governor. And then for the attorney general, as I was saying earlier, this is nearly 6 points. This is an overperformance of even Kamala Harris in 2024. More than 200,000 vote difference there. So this is the race that is just a disaster. If this isn't bad sign, this is worse. This is bad. This is worse. This is just wow. And then finally, as I was saying, going over House of Delegates, Democrats, it just was not just a wave in terms of the governor's races, the major races. You can see Democrats also, they went from a 51-49 or 51-47. There were a couple of seats that weren't filled, sort of situation here, leaping up to gaining up to 64 seats to the 35. So they are only a couple seats off of a majority. Republicans do hold a lead in this district. This district being, let's see here, I believe it's 34 here. Tony Wilt leads by 4.78 with 90% here. I saw other places have called it for the Republicans. So most likely going to end 64 to 36 here. But Democrats only 3 seats off of a supermajority here. So in this election, Democrats, they won pretty much every single race that could have been won by them in this House of Delegates race. So this was not just a wave in terms of, as I said, the governor's race and the big 3 races there, lieutenant governor and also attorney general. This was a shift across the board, across all these smaller counties and all these in electing these delegates. So you could just see massive shift in support from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party here across, as it says here, 51-49 previously, now 64 to 35. We'll see if how this last race will turn up in these next coming days. So just some final thoughts here. I've been really hammering home how much of a disaster this is for the Republican Party, because I've been seeing all sorts of stuff being put out by the Republican Party, a lot of different takes, a lot of takes that I really do disagree with. If they want to see, if they don't want to repeat this performance in 2026, a lot of excuses. That was what the Democrats did well in 2024. They didn't make excuses. They got together. They worked on a party message that would work, and as you can see in special elections, and then now here in on election day, November 4th, they worked on a message and obviously paid huge dividends. Republicans resting on their laurels, and if they continue to do that, they continue to make excuses, rest on their laurels, I don't see how Republicans can do well in 2026 at all if they don't come out with a better message that resonates with voters, and if they don't stop making excuses like Democrats are going to make themselves unpopular. Like, that's not a winning mentality, I guess. That is not something that can, win you elections. You can't say, oh, man, because this was something I saw on Fox News. They brought in an analysis that said, it's a good thing Mondami won because he's going to come in and he's going to become unpopular and the Republicans are going to do well. That is not going to that's not how that works. Yeah, you don't just say, I'm happy Donald Trump won in 2024 because now he's going to tank the, if you're a Democrat, you can't say, I'm happy Trump won because now he's going to tank the economy and blah, 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 blah. Democrats are going to win 2028. Some Democrats, I'm sure, did do that, but apparently they were able to lick their wounds. They were able to come out with a message that is how you should handle a situation like this, a disaster like this. Especially because even though 2024 remained close, as I said, the Republicans kind of took the Democrats' soul for a moment. Democrats really came out here and dominated this night, and we'll see that in upcoming videos. And if Republicans are just going to make excuses and say it's a good thing Democrats are winning because they'll make themselves unpopular, that is not going to end well for them in the future. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned for some more videos that are going to be coming out in the next couple of days, where I'm going to break down, as I said, I'm going to go over New Jersey, the results there. I'm going to go over New York, the mayoral election. Sorry about that. So the mayoral election in New York. I'm going to go over Prop 50 in California. And then I might include Prop 50 in a sort of final video that goes over the races that we saw in Georgia and Pennsylvania, Maine, Texas, and all those other sort of smaller elections that you might have missed because of the magnitude of these sort of elections and the sort of aftershocks that we are still feeling in the political world after this wave that we saw on November 4th of 2025. So I would like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day.